Move over, RoboCop. Here is Kindergarten Cop, the 1990 movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger plays tough LAPD detective John Kimball, a cop who doesn't play by the books, who walks the crime-ridden streets in order to put away an evil drug dealer called Crisp. However, in order to do so, Kimball must face his most toughest and deadliest mission yet: kindergartners, as the badass cop turned teacher must go undercover as a kindergarten teacher in order to try and track down Crisp's ex-wife and son and offer them immunity in exchange for testifying against him. And although dealing with pesky 6-year-olds may seem like a nightmare to start off with, Kimball learns that he actually has quite the soft spot when it comes to children and starts to embrace his unlikely newfound career as a kindergarten teacher in this feel-good action comedy movie directed by Ivan Reitman. And by the way, is it just me or does the guy who plays Crisp look like a hybrid of Val Kilmer from Willow and John Kreese from The Karate Kid? Hey, look, Claude, it's a hybrid. So here I have a copy of Kindergarten Cop on DVD, and I don't know if you guys can see, but it has a really weird tagline on the cover, as it says, "Go ahead and tell him you didn't do your homework." Dude, what kind of kindergarten is this? Homework? Come on, these kids are barely out of the crib and you're giving them homework? So drop everything and get ready to tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do? As we look into 10 things that you didn't know about Kindergarten Cop. Let's check it out.
Shut up!
Number 10, original choice for John Kimball. Kindergarten Cop came out right when Arnold Schwarzenegger was in his prime. He had done hit movies like Terminator and Predator, and still had Total Recall and Terminator 2 around the corner. And part of his appeal in Kindergarten Cop is the fact that he's a tough guy who has to become a teacher for small children.
I have a headache.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
To me, that's the strongest selling point of the movie. However, the original choice for the part was in fact Bill Murray. Yep, Kimball could have been less tough and more sarcastic and pessimistic, which actually would have made it feel like a completely different movie. The movie's director Ivan Reitman and Bill Murray had previously worked together on the 2 Ghostbusters movies, which were huge hits, but Murray turned it down, so Austria's tough guy it was, where Schwarzenegger definitely gives off one of his funniest performances.
You mean you eat other people's lunches? Stop it!
Speaking of Ivan Reitman, there is a blink and you'll miss it moment where you can see some Ghostbusters bedding, which is an obvious callback to his previous movie. Number 9, Kindergarten Cop is the second movie in a Reitman-Schwarzenegger trilogy.
Come on, baby!
Kindergarten Cop is the second out of 3 movies that Arnie would make with director Ivan Reitman, the first being Twins and the third being Junior. Although the movies aren't connected and set in their own universes, there is a common theme in each of these movies, which is, what odd situations can we put the toughest movie action star in, particularly situations that clash with the whole action hero trope. In Twins, they made him Danny DeVito's twin. In Kindergarten Cop, they made him a kindergarten teacher. And in Junior, they made him pregnant. And although the what weird scenarios can we put Schwarzenegger through gimmick worked for Twins and Kindergarten Cop, by the time Junior came out, it felt stale and not as much of a novelty anymore. It's probably just as well they stopped at 3, because what would they have done to poor Schwarzenegger in a 4th movie? Turned him into a tube of toothpaste or something? Number 8, casting the kids. Considering a huge chunk of the movie's screen time is focused on a group of small children, they surprisingly never come across as being annoying or obnoxious, as is often the case when kids appear in movies. Each kid is pretty convincing and does a good job, although there are a few scenes where you can see them looking at the crew or waiting for their cues, but hey, they were kids, so you can't be too hard on them. In order to cast a classroom of kindergarten children, a total of 2,000 children auditioned for the movie. Wow, that's a lot of screen tests. I mean, think about it, 2,000. One of those kids even being a young Elijah Wood, who were going to say it was his worst audition ever. So obviously out of all those kids, they went with the best ones. One of them even being Miko Hughes, who played the little boy who seems to keep talking about the human anatomy.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Thanks for the tip.
Hughes had previously starred as the creepy kid in Pet Sematary and would go on to star in Wes Craven's New Nightmare and Spawn. And he even made it on Kindergarten Cop's movie poster. Also, apparently Christian Slater was offered the role to star as the movie's main villain Crisp after Reitman saw him in Heathers, but Slater didn't want to be typecast as villainous psychopaths. Number 7. Filming location. Kindergarten Cop was filmed in Astoria, Oregon, which, as I mentioned in my previous episode for Short Circuit, is also the same location used for Short Circuit as mentioned and The Goonies. In fact, the exterior shots of the school were filmed at an elementary school just a couple of blocks away from where The Goonies was filmed, and you can see that the location and scenery looks very similar to the scenery in The Goonies. I feel like Reitman really liked Astoria, and often the movie features long shots of the town showing how beautiful the place is, almost advertising it and showing it to be a nice humble family town. Universal Pictures also provided new play equipment, hedges and fences to be used in the school's outside scenery for the film. Most of the filming took place outside school hours, as not to get in the way of the kids' real-life school and education. The exterior scenes inside the school were filmed on sound stages at Universal Studios in Hollywood, and several malls around California were used for the movie's introduction scene where Kimball is shadowing Crisp. Number 6. Arnie's condition for starring in the movie. Schwarzenegger was actually very keen to star in Kindergarten Cop, on the account that he had just become a father in 1989, so it probably felt fitting for him to star in a more family-friendly movie, what with it being rated PG-13. However, Arnie did have one strange request. He agreed to star in the movie on the condition that a gym be put together for him while filming in Astoria, so he can still work out and exercise while filming. Now this isn't completely out of character for Schwarzenegger, as apparently while making Predator, he and his co-stars were constantly taking time out to hit the gym. But still, most actors want a high salary or percentage of the box office taking. Arnie simply wanted a gym. Still, he had Terminator 2 just around the corner, so maybe he was getting himself in shape for that? Number 5. Kindergarten Cop is set in the same universe as Silent Hill. Okay, so as crazy as it is, the elementary school scene in Kindergarten Cop turns up in the hit 1999 game Silent Hill, be that a run-down apocalyptic version of the school. Not only does the elementary school in the game have the same architecture as the one in Kindergarten Cop, but even props and posters from the movie can be seen in the background. The piece of evidence I find the most striking is this exact poster featuring a white dog from Kindergarten Cop, which is also seen in the school in Silent Hill. So one of two things is happening here. Either the designers of the Silent Hill game were huge fans of Kindergarten Cop and designed the school after the one seen in the movie, or Silent Hill does indeed take place in the same universe as Kindergarten Cop. That one sounds more fun, so I'm gonna stick with that. So, who would have thought this whole time Kindergarten Cop was a prequel to Silent Hill? Number 4. Release. Kindergarten Cop was released on December the 21st, 1990. So, in a way, I guess you could say it was Schwarzenegger's first Christmas movie before he did Jingle All the Way. The movie got pretty impressive reviews from critics and earned $202 million on a $26 million budget, making it a financial success, which isn't bad considering it was up against Edward Scissorhands and The Godfather Part 3 in the box office. However, despite the movie's success, Schwarzenegger felt that the movie could have made at least an extra $25 million if the movie's violence was toned down. But director Ivan Reitman felt the violence was necessary in order for the movie to have a more meaningful and effective ending. I say, come on Arnie, the movie made over $200 million. Surely it's not all that bad.
I'm the party pooper.
Kindergarten Cop must have had an impact, as it started a trend in comedy movies, where we would see otherwise movie tough guys be put in situations where they would have to look after kids. Number 3. April Fool's Joke. In 2012, it was announced that Kindergarten Cop would be given a Criterion Collection Blu-ray release. Criterion Collection is a brand that provides special home media releases for movies of great significance and relevance, or otherwise masterpieces. It was said that Kindergarten Cop was chosen for its meshing together of two genres, those being action police movies with family comedy ones, which, to be fair, Kindergarten Cop actually does quite well. However, any excitement Kindergarten Cop fans might have had for seeing the film get its Criterion Collection release was short-lived, as it turned out to be an April Fool's Day joke. I guess the joke being as if Criterion Collection would release a Kindergarten Cop edition. Ugh. But personally, I think it would have actually been pretty awesome if it did. And Kindergarten Cop did eventually get a Blu-ray release 2 years later. Number 2. Sequel. Well, yeah, apparently there was a sequel to Kindergarten Cop, which I actually didn't know about until recently, where for some reason in 2016, a whole 26 years after the release of the original Kindergarten Cop, someone suddenly felt it was the right time to release a sequel. Seriously, is it me or is that just random? I mean, in 2016, was there really a demand for a sequel? I haven't seen Kindergarten Cop 2, so I can't really pass comment on it. But what I do know is that it was a straight-to-video release, where this time Dolph Lundgren was the action tough guy who must go undercover as a kindergarten teacher. And it was directed by Don Michael Paul, who previously directed Tremors 5: Bloodlines. And considering the movie has an audience approval rating of 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not too enthusiastic about watching it. But whether or not Kindergarten Cop 2 is good, the fact that it exists is just weird. Number 1. Arnie had to take time out in the name of Terminator 2. Kindergarten Cop's filming was actually postponed from when it was originally meant to be filmed, as director Ivan Reitman hadn't quite finished working on Ghostbusters 2 yet. So with the filming now taking place later than intended, meant that Schwarzenegger had to leave the set on one occasion and fly up to California to film the teaser trailer for Terminator 2. As in that rad trailer where we see the Terminator machines being manufactured in a facility where Arnie then turns up. When you know this fact, I think you can see the evidence in Arnie's hair, as it's longer than how it's actually seen in Terminator 2, with it being slicked back, and even a little gingery like how it was seen in Kindergarten Cop. Either way, now you know that while filming this badass trailer, Arnie was also playing a kindergarten teacher, and had just literally walked off the set of Kindergarten Cop.
You tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
To me, Kindergarten Cop is Arnold Schwarzenegger's funniest performance, and I generally find it to be a fun and enjoyable movie. I think in modern times it often falls into the pit of other Schwarzenegger comedy movies that didn't quite work, but I think if you put those prejudices aside, you'll see it's a well-meaning, entertaining film with a good heart. Watch it on its own merits, rather than being one of those wacky comedies starring Schwarzenegger. Anyway, I'm Minty, and it is not a tumor! See ya!